good evening. It's been a long time since we've done one of these live streams, particularly on a Saturday evening. Tonight we have this lovely can of Heineken, which will be providing me with some refreshment. I'm just going to refresh the page on my laptop so I can have the questions come through on here, which is a lot easier for me to manage. Oh, that's probably the computer notifying me that we've actually gone live. So, right, there we go. We shall get the pop-out questions. Right, Jonathan Bramble. Good evening, sir. Let's just pop the chat up. And there we go. We are definitely ready, and there's already 6 people on. So good evening to you all. It's been a long time since we've done one of these during the peak lockdown that we had at the beginning of the year. We had at least one of these a week for quite a long time. DBT says hello. Birdie of CI5. So good evening, Agent Barry. 3-7 tuning in. Excellent. Alpha 1 is here. That's good. Oops, excuse me. Reason that we're doing one of these now, I'll just push that out of the way. The reason we're doing one of these now is because we just haven't done one for an awfully long time. Like the last one of these I did was about 3 months ago or something. So yes, it's been quite a while. But these were the mainstay of the channel for a very, very long time because we couldn't get out and film reviews and things. And so apart from doing videos about old car adverts, peculiar old car adverts, and videos about old television series, and very vague vlogs, and top 10 best-selling cars and things, when there weren't any car sales, this is what we did a lot of the time. So we'll be on here until about 8:30, so that's about 57 minutes from now. And please feel free to ask your questions. Ooh, Mr. Slightly Sweary Word Pants says, loving the channel. Thank you, that's very kind. We will be having a lot more stuff happening next week. I've been out today and I've actually filmed at very short notice another episode of Sensible Secondhand Reviews. I didn't expect to do one today, but it is done. So we've done 2 reviews this week, and I've got 2 reviews coming up next week. So we're almost maintaining the momentum of keeping about 4 to 5 weeks ahead, which is quite surprising. DBT, interesting username. Yes, indeed. Plenty of interesting username. Paulette Rayner says, good evening. Good evening to you as well. I think that's someone actually using another person's channel name. Good evening to JD in Rotterdam. Yes, I do drink a Heineken. The chat is working. It's working absolutely fine. So the stage that at the moment is that trying to work out, there's my phone vibrating again, trying to work out actually what order to put the reviews out in. And for some reason, the 3 reviews I put out this week haven't performed particularly well at all. They've not performed in any sort of way as much as I would have expected. You know, whatever I put out, I don't know why. It seems to be that only the slightly shambolic shuffles really perform at the moment, which is a bit of a shame because I don't just have shambolic shuffles on my channel. I have a lot of other stuff, and so I'm hoping that actually some of the people will start watching reviews in significant numbers again, because that's the biggest bulk of stuff I have. So yes, it's interesting. Birdie of CI5, Agent Barry, he asks, what are your predictions of the new 007 Adventure? The new 007 Adventure, as far as I know, is coming out towards the end of next month. Finally, it's been delayed, I think, 4 times. As far as I remember, it was due to come out initially in April 2020. So I've heard the theme tune for it. I've seen lots of speculation about it on the various James Bond YouTube channels that I follow. It could be absolutely wonderful. It could be absolutely terrible. I really, really don't know. It's impossible to say. When I heard them speculating about whether it was the wokest Bond film that there'd ever been, it's not really a word that I would associate with James Bond, really, that kind of thing. So we'll have to see. I'll have to go and see it. I'll probably be ridiculous and go and see it on my own as soon as it comes out on like a matinee screening or something like that, because that's what I prefer to do, because I'm strange like that. Right, who else do we have? Who else do we have online this evening? See if anybody else has come on. About 19 people so far. That's not too bad. I think my record was it 42 at one point. I had about 42. Ah, Mr. Slightly Sweary Word Pants. Do you like Volvos? Yes, I do like Volvos. I grew up with Volvos. I've read a lot of Volvos on my channel. I've done an S60, 240, 740, 940, 960. Yeah, I've done a lot of Volvos. So I've never owned one. I want to get actually another type of Volvo on the channel. I'm trying to get things like 340s, 360s, 440s, 460s, 480s at the moment. But I've been trying to get that sort of stuff for quite a number of years, and I've never quite managed it for some reason. But yes, generally, yes, I do like Volvos. Agent Barry, buddy of CI5, says, I feel you'll like solo cinematic experience. It's a very strange experience going to the cinema on your own. It's very weird. Jonathan Bramble, is there any car you have a guilty pleasure for we don't know about? I don't know. They seem to happen quite a lot. I think possibly you will be seeing a couple of them in about 4 weeks' time. Yeah, about 4 weeks. There, because that's how far ahead we are of videos, and I'm trying to think about the best, order to release them in, if that's going to make any difference to anyone. But I do like to release them in roughly the order that I filmed them, for the simple reason that actually a lot of the people who have put it on their cars to review want to see them on the channel at some point, and so if you hold it back for too long, they, it's not that honouring to them if you have to just have it for months. I know some of the very large channels kind of sometimes do that sort of thing, but it's just, I think, a sign of having more stuff. But yeah, but there's one particular type of car I think you probably haven't heard me sort of talk about, but you will quite soon. Good evening to Mr. Paulie Galtieri. The Aston Martin V8 Vantage Series 2 featured in Living Daylights is the best James Bond car in my opinion. I don't know if it's the absolute best one, but it's certainly very high up on the list, I would say. It's very high up on the list. JD in Rotterdam, I had a special experience there. I sat in a Skoda 120. Well, so apparently this week did Mr. Ian Seabrook. I'm sure you've seen that on the Hubnut channel. DBT, I'd love an old Volvo one day. Yes, I completely understand why you want one. We had a 240 estate in my family when I was growing up for 11 years. I know them quite well. Agent Barry, buddy of CI5, my uncle had an 850 estate based on seeing the BTCC car. It was like sitting in a cathedral. I went to school very close to a cathedral. It was about, about a 3 or 4 minute walk from the cathedral, actually. And I did sit in an 850s when I was growing up, and I don't really see the similarity kind of between two of those, but maybe it's just the fact that they were quite spacious, and 850 is quite spacious, really. I can't remember if the load space on an 850 is a little bit smaller than a 240, because the 240s are huge, but possibly. Right. Do any of the rest of you have any more questions for me? Mr. Richard Howlett. Good evening. Just back from the Hub Not Social event at the Motorist up in Yorkshire. Yes, I have seen the live stream of that Planet Auto did, and I'm pleased to say that Mr. Quirk from Planet Auto recorded a special one-off shambolic shuffle just for me. So we might see that on the channel at some point, viewers. Unfortunately, I don't know if it'll actually be properly shambolic enough because he was using some kind of DSLR and a gimbal. So yeah, it won't be that shambolic, but it's a shuffle anyway. So there we go. Jonathan Bramble. I've owned a Mark 1 MX-5 Auto. And I didn't find it the most pleasurable experience, very sluggish. The manual was better. I think I've driven 2 manual MX-5s now, and certainly, yeah, the manual ones generally are considered a bit better. I didn't find that automatic one I drove particularly slow. I found the scuttle shake absolutely dreadful, and it's not the most refined car. But I think if you buy one, you're not buying the most refined car. So that was perhaps not necessarily the sort of surprised about anything. Maybe I should try a manual one of those at some point. Maybe the 1.8 because that's a 1.6. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. But I've just driven actually another MX-5 today. It's a 2012 model, and that was the one I felt most comfortable sort of in, the most sort of easiest one to get on with. The steering is definitely better in the Mark 1s and Mark 2s, but I did like that Mark 3. It was a very nice one as well. So I don't know how many weeks you'll see that, but you will see that at some point on the channel. The owner lives quite locally, so we're able to sort something out short notice. Next one, JD in Rotterdam. Also found a little old film from '84. It was just a camera pointed at a road here in Holland. Somebody filmed it just in that time, I suppose, but I saw the cars from that time. Yes, I like seeing the older cars in older TV series in particular. That's why we have so many videos about older television series on this channel, because I like seeing all the old cars in them. Russell Cooper, what's your favourite base model car? I think probably at the moment the Peugeot 605 SLI that I saw at Festival Young Exceptional, because for a base model that's quite well equipped. It's got things like electric mirrors and power steering, electric windows in it. I'm not so keen on the really stripped out ones that certain other channels really seem to go for. I'm not really into that, but then again, you sort of knew that probably already. Paulie Gattieri, 2007 Mark III. I'm afraid we can't talk about that, sir, because that's got a forbidden fuel engine in it, so not going to talk about that. John Edwards, when do you believe used car prices will return to normal? I've seen Toledo's fetch about £1,500 more than pre-lockdown. Well, it's interesting. I was talking about this today actually, because I had a little chat with the chap who owns the 2012 MX-5, and he said that actually the version that he's got, which is a really nice special edition version, is worth an awful lot more than he paid for it, which was about 18 months ago, which is really surprising actually. But yes, I don't know when this trend's going to finish. The sales for last month for new cars in this country will cover next week, but certainly at the moment that trend of having kind of higher prices on second-hand cars, particularly desirable ones, that shows no signs of slowing down at the moment. But the problem is that the used car dealers can't get enough cars, so that is a bit of a problem. It's not necessarily that they're earning loads of money, it's just they can't get hold of them because the wholesale prices of the cars are higher, and so the selling price to retail customer is higher. It's not necessarily they're making higher profits or anything. When it will end, I don't know. Nick D says, Morsel loves Motors YouTube channel. Yes, it is indeed. He owns 2 Volvo 340s, one of which is an early example. It may be worth contacting him. He also owns an early Metro and a better Fiesta. He actually owns 4 Volvo 340s, not 2. One of them was effectively unexceptional. No, sorry, no, it wasn't that. It was the base model Fiesta, and he's recently made a video about the base model Fiesta. I think his ones are popular, which is the absolute base model. He likes really stripped out stuff. All of the 340s he's got, and he's got 4, they're all pre-facelift ones. I really prefer a 360 or like a very highly specified 340 that's post-facelift. I did sort of, he's not actually offered them to me. I did a little conversation on one of the Shambolic Shuffle videos around First Rate Exceptional, but he's not actually kind of sort of said I can film them. So I can only film what I'm offered. I don't know whether, you know, I don't know whether it's not really done to kind of contact someone else and say, I want to film your car, unless you've got another car that they might want to film. That's not really done. So if he offers it me at some point, then I will obviously go and film his stuff. But he's got actually more cars than just the ones you've mentioned. Yeah. Agent Barry, Buddy CO5, Sierra Mondeo. I don't know, because I've never driven a Sierra. I have driven a Mondeo, and that's on the channel, but I've not driven a Sierra, so I don't know. DBT, what cars do you currently own? If you actually look at the channel banner I have, you will see both the cars we own in the channel banner. I mean, Coda, that's my surname, actually. That's not my first name. I'm a bit particular, actually, about people calling by my surname. I don't really like it. I'm sorry. You need to prefer proper S60 T5 2003 onwards. Well, I've done an S60 already. It was a 2-litre T. It was a 2004. 10 years ownership, so 100k. If it's a white block, then they're exceptionally reliable cars, as long as you change the cam belt regularly and use good quality oil. The S60, but I have already reviewed one actually. Jonathan Bramble, thoughts on E10 patch and older cars. I've already done 2 videos about E10 patch and older cars. I'm actually going to do probably a couple more of them, but there's a very good video that Ian Seabrook's put out on this, and largely the thoughts that I have kind of actually line with his, in that we don't actually know a lot of what's going to happen with long-term use of E10. Using E10 once or twice in a car will do absolutely nothing to it in terms of harming it. Nothing whatsoever. It's only possibly, and we don't know this for certain, that it might harm some of the fuel system. But if you're driving an older car, you should also be kind of aware of the fuel system anyway. And it's only increasing the concentration of ethanol in the fuel by a little amount. So E5 is probably already damaging some of these older things anyway. And really, a lot of cars after 1995 are compatible anyway. Yeah, so it's not really particularly a massive problem unless you know your car's got a bad fuel system in it. There are certain cars that don't run on it. Lexus actually have a couple that they've mentioned. I think Toyota and Seat do. But most cars actually, if it's just a kind of 1 or 2 times you're putting in, then it's fine. I know that actually any Rover or MG after 1995 is compatible with E10. That's just one example. I mean, all Kias in the country are compatible with E10, for example. There's way more than you'd actually think, which are absolutely fine. So if you want a really detailed exact analysis of it, then just watch Ian Seabrook's video on the Hobnut channel about it. But we will do some specifics. I mean, Mr. Coleman and I have been planning something to do with his Granada for ages. But it's not really applicable to most of the cars that a lot of us drive every day. it tends to be the really old ones, and even then, there's ones that should have the fuel system checked regularly anyway. It's actually probably at this stage, I'd kind of say that it's very difficult to say in the long term what will happen, but in the short term, if you are at all unsure, just put super unleaded in it. JD in Rotterdam. Now, just like nowadays in '84, you saw most people have the same cars. In the 1980s, you saw Opel Kadett, Mark 1 Golf, Escort, some Fiat, Ritmos or Stradas, some Galants and 66s. Yeah, yeah, it's the sort of things I'd expect to see. Lot 76 cars. Are you at the Waldron Classic Car Show tomorrow? No, sir, I'm afraid not. I am at another show though next Thursday. Sean Cook, the steering and gear change were really good. I've driven the 340 1.4 base, and it was great. I think great for me in terms of no power steering and wind up windows sometimes isn't the best. I can tolerate it in certain things, but I mean generally sort of not. Trabally says good evening. Good evening to you, sir. Miko, sorry, I didn't realize a lot of it. I say both my names in most of my videos. If you watch Sensible Secondhand Reviews, Tweed Jacket Reviews, Sensible Secondhand Classics, all of those have actually got both my names in them. And in No Budget Reviews, I say both my names. So I don't mind why were people funny about it, but that's just the way that it is. It's not a massive problem, but for some reason it kind of annoys me. I don't know why. Jaden Rodden, yes, I finished my Heineken earlier than you on winner of the evening. Well done, sir. That's excellent. Sean Cook, Russell Cooper, you having a laugh, sir? I don't quite understand it, sir. Wells Wheels. Good evening, all. It's good evening to you, Mr. Bill. We'll be seeing Mr. Bill again, probably on my channel quite soon. Amico, yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. Yes, it was a Saturday evening. You had several beers. I'm only having one. I don't tend to have more than one in an evening. Obviously, we're doing this fast after I've been out driving, so we're all fine. Miko, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. I'm so used to it now anyway that it just doesn't surprise me anymore. Jonathan Bramble, if you got to review and drive in the car in super cones, would you? Probably not. I've seen it. I've seen it, and I've seen it, and in real life, and oh my gosh, no, I'm not driving that. Yeah, he did, and I did. I've actually already answered the question about the base model car. Be a Peugeot 605. And Mr. Coleman is here. Good evening to you, Mr. Coleman, rubbish mechanic. Mr. Coleman and I at some point will be doing a live stream with me. We were doing a joint one because he used to like that one. This is an interesting question for Mr. Coleman. David Clark asks, I'm seen selling my Alfa Romeo 159 Ti manual 2.4 and we're getting a 166 pre-facelift or 3.2 facelift manual. Will that be guided utterly insane? I'll get Mr. Coleman to answer that question because he's very good at Alfa 166s. He has owned a few. Travelix is good to Mr. Coleman. Mr. David H says hello to all fellow subscribers. Sean Cook says humble apologies. That's all right, sir. Don't worry. We've got a question from my lady was asking a question. What car did you have a chance to buy and didn't and now regret? Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think possibly I was offered a chance to buy a Mark 5 Fiesta, a really late one, a locally owned car to here. It lived up my outskirts of Winchester. It was a 2-owner car. I think it was a 52 plate. And it drove really nicely. I then I then didn't buy it. I don't know why. I bought a Rover 25 for the same money, and I think the Fiesta, to be honest, would have been nicer on a journey. They're actually better to drive in a way with the Mark Fives because they have just a bit of a nicer gearbox and clutch in them. The interior of the Mark Five Fiesta is nothing to write home about, but I should maybe have bought that instead of a Rover 25. But I didn't lose any money on the 25, so it's not really a sort of big thing. But that's the one that comes to mind. There's probably others, but I didn't buy that. That's the Santa Pod, by the way, about 2018. JDN Rotterdam. Are there any Simca 1100s left in Britain? Do you know what? I can find out for you. I will find out for you. Let's take a look and see if there are any. My suspicion is there's not a lot of them left. And this information that I'll be getting will be probably quite inaccurate, but it'll do. Let's just have a look and see if there are any. Yes, there are. It looks like on the road there are 22. There's your answer. It's an approximate figure, by the way. Mr. Coleman's talking about Alfa 166. He's probably one of the best people to ask in the country about them. Yeah, good idea getting 166. Struggle getting a 3.2 manual as Alfa only bought 40 of them over. Yeah. Go for a 3 litre, there's still a few. Yeah, that's right. CC, do look forward to putting E10 petrol in your car. Yeah, I put E10 petrol in all our cars, and so far, no problems. Trabally, hit the like button. Thank you very much, sir. It's very kind. Amiga Coda, people forget how economical mini metros were. I think we've got a metro coming up a channel at some point, so we'll have a go on one of those. David Clark, many thanks, Mr. Coleman. Yes, indeed. Many thanks, Mr. Coleman. Jonathan Bramble, what's the rarest car that you'd really like to review? Let me think about this. I quite like to do a Suzuki Kizashi. They're quite rare, but trying to get hold of one of those is so difficult. I'd really want to review one on Sensible Secondhand Reviews because they are available for under 5,000 now. So I'd really like to do one of those. Excuse me. Jay Rotterdam. Thanks a lot. Simca 1100. I think I actually got offered one of those a couple of years ago. I'll see if I can chase that lead up again. I'll see if I can actually go and do that Simca 1100. Trebly, is the NG5 long range out now? Yes, it is. It's on website. It is out. Sean Cook, Rover 114i, 214 SEI, 420 Tourer, or 827 SLI. 420 Tourer is pretty good. I quite like those. It's a toss up between the 420 Tourer and the 827 SLI. Good evening to Noel Conroy. Jay Rotterdam says, a lot of rust problems, heard so. Applause of the owners of those Simcas. I don't know why you'd be applauding rust problems. Yeah, the Simca 1100 had a lot of rust problems. An awful lot of rust problems. Like loads. It's amazing there are any left at all. Lots of its cars. Any chance of finding a ZDOS 6 or 9 to review? I would love to review a Mazda ZDOS 6 or ZDOS 9. The chances of getting one of those, I don't know. I mean, there's some really rare stuff actually coming up on the channel soon. One of the reviews that's coming up is a twin test of a car that there's less than 10 on the road now, and I reviewed 2 examples of one in a day. So that was rare. Dry boats, have you ever driven a Trabant? No, I'm not very keen on kind of stuff that Ian Seabrook and people like that kind of like. That's really kind of a bit sort of you know, difficult to live with and stuff like that. I'm not so keen on that sort of stuff, but obviously lots of people are. British Mechanic, Mr. Clark, Alfa only imported 2,600 600 cars over the 11-year production run. Yeah, the Alfa 126s were very rare in this country, very rare. Nick D, any thoughts on what a place for Tivoli when time comes? We've got like the Tivoli on this, this loan we took out for it, but it's about a 5-year loan. So I think we'll be having that for a while. Lot 76 cars. I've been tempted to buy one to review myself. That's what that's what Matt from High Peak Auto does. He wants to review a car. He just buys one and then sells it. It's difficult to sometimes explain things to lady wives about buying cars just because you kind of want one but you don't really want to keep it. That's a difficult thing to explain to lady wives sometimes. The only way I get around that is by doing Santa Pod Challenge, and part of the challenge is to sell the car at the end. CC, do you like the Allegra with the Cortex steering wheel? I don't know. No, I've never driven an Allegro. I'd quite like to. Certainly Allegro and an Ital. I would certainly like to review those. Mr. Coleman seems to be at a wedding party, so he will go. Good night, Mr. Coleman. We will see you again soon. Trabelee, what's your earliest memory on a car or cars in general? I had a little wooden van thing I used to push around when I was about 3. There's a photograph of pushing the van around, which I'm not going to show you on my channel, so don't ask. Cars in general. My parents were very concerned about the fact that my eyesight was going to be really bad, because my father had very, very bad long-sightedness, and my brother is quite long-sighted too. So what they did was to get me to identify the types of car that I could see and read the number plates of the car. This was when I was about 3 or 4. And it's one of the worst things my parents ever did, because now, I'm in the job that I'm in. So there we go. Excuse me, that was a horrible noise. Right, do we have any more questions? So 27 people on the stream this evening. That's quite good. Amiga Coda, do you know you're taking out a petrol station still using old pumps in the 80s pays dividends over filling up in a modern pump? There's really not very many kind of old sort of stations like that around here that I've seen. I think the only one I know of, I think, is in Southampton, and I don't even know if it sells petrol. It might only sell forbidden fuel, so I don't know. Otherwise, the rest of them, yeah, I'm not sure we can investigate that really. JDN Rotterdam, cars had rust problems in the 70s and 80s. It was pretty normal. Yep, yes it was, absolutely. Even into the 90s and some 2000 cars as well. Some cars like Volvo 240s, yeah, Volvo 240s are incredibly rust resistant actually. The worst area of those tends to be the tailgate and then some of the rear. Lada 1200 and Mercedes 190. Yeah, Mercedes 190 compared with the W202 C-Class that actually replaced it was very resistant to rust. Was it cheaper metal or thicker metal? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. That's a question for someone like Mr. Coleman, not me. I wouldn't be able to tell you, I'm afraid. Well, 33 people. That's very nice of you to all watching this evening. I really appreciate it. My lady wife asks, what's the rustiest modern car? The rustiest modern car, there's rumours that they are either Dacia or bizarrely white MGs. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm not sure. But these sort of things, particularly the MG, because the warranty is so long, tend to be covered under warranty. Here we have Mr. Trabelee. What 7080s car would it be most fun to travel in from London, John O'Groats? Rover 800, I think, actually. Those are really comfortable. ST, my Golf 5 and 6 rusted. Yes, the Golf Mark 5 loves to rust. We did a test of 2 Golf Mark 5s actually on the channel. We did a twin test of those, first twin test we ever did, and they were both a bit rusty. John Edwards, you can have a little and large combination on your drive. Which cars would you pick both realistically in a dream combination? I think the thing is, really a little one. I think I'd probably just buy another MG3. Really, quite like those. The large one, I don't know. Not sure. I quite like the petrol Ssanyon Corando. I quite like those. That's quite a large car. Dream combination. I don't know. I mean, it might be really similar to that. ST wheel arches and indoor surround on the Mark 5 and 6. Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, wheel arches are bad. You saw some good. When are you going to test a Peugeot 306? When I get offered one. I've never been offered a Peugeot 306. I'd like to drive one, particularly a sedan. I really want to drive a green 306 sedan with a rear wiper, but I don't know if I'll be able to. A lot of these things depend on whether I get offered one. Mr. Cook. In the 1990s, my local Texaco fill went 410 miles, and my local jet station went 435 miles. I never knew why. Is that because you had different octane petrol or something? Birdie of CO5, some serious drinking skill there. Well, not really, Agent Barry. JDM Rotterdam. I had a 2003 Ford Focus wagon, a 2003 Alfa 147 and a 2001 Opel Amiga. That's the same as the Vauxhall Amiga Caravan, the estate version. They all rust a lot. The backside of the Amiga was 70% rust, the Alfa was right underneath. The Alfa 147 is one of the only cars I've seen that something like sort of 13, 14 years old. The suspension arms all rust out. Mr. Coleman's Amiga is pretty good, so I've not seen too many rusty Amiga. Maybe they don't exist anymore. Mark 1 Focus, yeah, they rust quite badly. Lot of 76 cars, Peugeot 405, love them. Drove pre-launchers, company cars. What's your view? I don't really have much of a view of them because I've never driven a 405. Again, it's a car I'd like to drive, particularly something like a late. I think they call was it the ST or STI version? Something like that would be very nice. But I've never driven one because I've never been on one. John, but surprising Toledo kept a little car with a large space. I'm a little bit wary about the 1 litre TSI engines in Toledos. That's why I didn't just buy a newer one when we replaced ours, because I'm just a little bit wary about those engines because it's a wet cam belt engine. ST, my father had a green 306 sedan. It would have SLDT with brown interior. Unfortunately, we can't talk about that because we don't talk about diesels on this channel, viewers. Let's just go back to one that my lady wife has pointed out I've missed. Henry Hull 8538. Do you think more people want me to MG as a brand? Yes, they are. We'll get on to the sales figures for last month, and I think MG are one of the only brands in the last month to have had a sales increase over be July 2020, one of the only brands that have. So yes, Amiga Coda, Volvo S62000, best car I've ever owned is already. They're very, very, very good. They're really good. I drove one no budget reviews last year, and yeah, it was very good. Drabberly, Granada Mark III is more comfortable than a Rover 800. The thing is, I haven't driven a Granada Mark III, so I couldn't really comment. Don't know. I mean, a Rover 800 is comfortable. Stuart Saunders, what brand do you think are vulnerable, likely to become extinct in the near future? Just in terms of the market that we've got, I mean, Mitsubishi's about to pull out of the market entirely. They'll be out by the end of, I think, next year. Sanyong's history and current vulnerability in the market is well documented. Hopefully they'll survive because we own one. Yeah, ST. Sorry, realised SRDT is, yes, we know. We don't talk about that on this channel. Bernie CO5. Any chance of getting SD1 over the test? I've kind of sort of half been offered an SD1s in the past, but I've never managed to quite get one yet. I mean, I'd certainly like to do one. John Edwards, one of Musty's cars is not a Mark 1 Ford car. Pretty sure it rusted before it left the factory. Anything on the Mark 3, 4, 5 Fiesta platform, which includes all those, and the Puma, and the car, and the sport car, and the street car, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, all of them are like that. CC, do you ever drive a mini metro, or what do you think of them? I haven't actually driven a metro yet. There's one coming up on the channel quite soon though, so we'll see about that. ST, the MGs look terrible. Which MGs are you talking about? And you know, have you seen stuff like the Toyota CHR and the new Hyundai Tucson and the Hyundai i20 and things like that? In comparison with those, I think MGs actually look quite nice. The Hyundai Kona, I think, is horrible. It's a horrible looking car. It's quite nice to drive. I've driven one of those, but it's a very subjective sort of thing anyway. But I don't think they look any worse than anything else that's out there. I think some of cars on matches are absolutely horrible. Mr. Slightly Swearing Name Pants. Why don't you like diesels? Since the very first video on the channel, we've not talked about them. I mean, I could talk for days about why. They just don't make relevant sense to most people who buy cars these days. They're heavily taxed when they're new. They've got all these silly things like digital particulate filters in them. They're more expensive to buy when they're new. All the ultra emission zones are making them very irrelevant. They're not suitable for lower mileage drivers. They're devaluing really quickly. I don't source them for clients anymore at all. I don't bother. You know, the more and more of the ultra emission zones, the clean air that come in, are gonna sort of make them sort of kind of less and less relevant to people. You know, I could go on sort of further, but I think that's quite enough. JDN Rotterdam. I think it's weird after your years of building cars, you're pretty much learning from. So you're still talking about rust, sir? Is that what you're talking about? Oh yes, you are. Yes, something like this. Yeah, it happens. You know, surprising amount according to Mr. Coleman, which you would know about that kind of thing. It's all gone very quiet. Do any of you have anything else to say, or do we call it a day in a couple of minutes? ST, worst mainstream special edition. I think the Nissan Microwave, just in terms of the Nissan Microwave, is a very stupid name. Yeah, that's silly. They don't even thought that through very carefully. Nisef Kargela, hi from Sri Lanka. Good evening to you. You're quite a few hours ahead in Sri Lanka, I think. Trabelim, yeah, 2000s. They said heavy oil is good and to buy them. Yeah, the taxation was favourable at the time. It's not now. DBT, forbidden fuel in vans and Land Rovers makes sense, but any other car does you benefit. If you're an incredibly high mileage driver, and Mr. Richardson, if you're driving, always says this, that actually it makes economic sense, but the time will come when he has to replace that with something else that hasn't got a forbidden fuel engine. I know that will happen. Maybe electric car he'll get at some point. Mr. Manning from Matty's Cars, evening, sir. What do you think of the new Qashqai? I don't really have an opinion on the new Qashqai, really. I don't at all. It's kind of there. They've got rid of all the forbidden fuel engines that were the most popular type. I don't know. I might be driving the previous generation Qashqai at some point soon. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it, really. ST, Renault Win was a silly name. Yeah, it was a very silly name. Lot 36 cars. Do you think LPG has any future? Not really, because no combustion engine cars without electrification actually have a future at all. So, yeah, they don't have a future because from 2030 they'll be banned. So um, that's it really. Uh, John Edwards, what's the most common vehicle you sourced during your time? I've sourced an awful lot of Kias, a great deal of Kias. I think it's I think it's two Vengers and it's at least three Mark One Cs, if not more. I think it's three, and two Hyundai i30s, but the same as the Mark One Cs. Yeah, I think that's it. I've done a lot of Vauxhalls as well. Done some Fords. I've done quite a lot. Nothing particularly interesting. The most exciting car I ever sourced, probably from a rarity, was a Mitsubishi Space Star. Henry Hall, 8538. I wonder if BMW would consider bringing back Rover name if they wanted to build a large front-wheel drive model manufacturing. Probably not, because they don't own the name. That name is actually owned by Tata, who will not give that to anybody because they are afraid people will confuse it with Land Rover, so they won't be bringing the name back. Don't you miss the smell of a petrol engine years ago compared with emission strangle with modern ones? Uh, yeah, I mean, I've driven all kinds of old stuff recently. I've driven all those things like, Maestros and probably got more Montegos coming up and all kinds of stuff like that. Got that Metro coming up quite soon. I mean, yeah, they smell very different. Emission strangled ones don't smell the same. It's true. Jane Water, do you think Lada will come back to Western market? No, I don't think so, because Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi own Lada, and they've got Dacia, and Dacias are pretty much identical to Ladas by and large now. So I don't think they're going to bother. Sure, good afternoon now, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, good evening. Good night to you, sir. So, Dry Blokes. The UK Prime Minister's climate spokesman drives a forbidden fuel. Yes, they do. I saw that article on the BBC site as well. Isn't that ironic? David H. When do you think driving schools will start teaching electric cars? Will this mean that you'll only have an electric or automatic license, not be able to drive manual cars? They've actually mentioned this, and they have said that they're going to specifically keep going with manual cars, just so people can actually pass their test on manuals. So, yeah, they've actually thought about that already. I don't know how long that's going to last, though, because you won't be able to pretty much buy manual cars after 2030, because everything will have some form of electrification in it. If they can work out to sort of have a normal electric or possibly a plug-in hybrid one with a manual gearbox in it, then that'll be fine. But so far, nothing. ST, I've got to go. Have a nice evening, sir. You have a nice evening too. Amiga Coda, how long before the flying car arrives en masse? They've been talking about that since the 1920s, and so far, nothing's happened. So I don't know. Agent Barry, Bodie of CI5. Have you seen Gordon Murray's 250 supercar? I think so. I think that came out a little while ago now. Yeah, not in person. I mean, I've seen pictures of it. Stevie Trimpton, do you think self-driving cars will become a norm? I don't think it'll work. I'm dreading it. Well, electric cars are going to become the normal for people to buy. It's not saying that's a particularly good or bad thing. Maybe it will. I don't know really. Lots of its cars. Do you think Chinese brands are making inroads in the UK market? Well, if you're counting MG as a Chinese brand, which you could argue that it is, it already has made inroads in the UK market. It's outselling like some very established brands at the moment, like I don't know, Citroen and Suzuki and all kinds of stuff like that. Henry Hole 8538. Do you think the government will decide to extend the use of hybrids after 2035? I've absolutely no idea. Mega Coda, do you think so if the driver will become extinct for safety? Who knows? I'm not sure. Richard Howlett, do you think the 2030 deadline for combustion engine only cars will slip? I don't know. At this rate, probably not, because so many other countries are following suit. Norway's even worse, of course, because Norway, they love electric cars in Norway. JDM Rotterdam. I found an old advert from 1988 of Lada. Luxury options were a right-hand mirror, yep, a passenger mirror, a radio and a catalytic converter. They let people pay extra for a catalyzer. The thing is, in the early 90s in particular, if you watch one episode of Top Gear, you can order a catalyst and a non-catalyst version of many cars. Many people wanted the catalytic converter because it made them feel better about the environment. And from January 1993, all cars in the European Union had to have catalytic converters. One of the reasons why Lada pulled out was because they couldn't get their cars that were carburetor engined, particularly the Riva and Samara, to run with a catalytic converter properly. That was one of the reasons they pulled out, actually. The Niva had fuel injection, so it wasn't so bad, but the Samara and the Riva, they are running catalytic converters on carburetor engines. Lots of 76 cars. Are you getting requested source electric vehicles yet? No, not quite, because the budgets that I deal with are often quite modest, and so there's not many modestly priced electric cars on the market, or second-hand, because most of the cars are sort of second-hand. There's not many actually on the market at the moment, but that will become more common, there's no doubt about it. Dry boats. Well, electric cars work effectively winter in Northern Europe. Well, I think the fact that Norway is banning combustion cars, I think from 2025, suggests that they do. So there you are. Right, any more questions, or should we call it an evening? Because it's been 51 minutes we've been on so far. Henry Hull 8538. What do people think of the Allegro period? Some people kind of liked it, some people didn't like it. The quality of them wasn't the best. They didn't actually rust as badly as some people said they did. That's not true, but a lot of other quality problems with them. Elias Lamar, are you ever planning on doing a review of the Focus Mark 1? Yes, I am actually. I have been offered one, and I need to go up to the area where the car is. It didn't quite happen the last time I was in that area, but I am planning on doing a review of the Mark 1 Focus, and I want to do it because it's been about 18 months since I was first offered one. The first one I didn't actually get to do because of lockdown. But yes, I have driven a Mark 1 Focus, and yeah, it drove quite nicely actually. I've driven one a few years ago. Right, I think that's probably enough for now. We've been on here quite a long time. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching this slightly less professional live stream. This is the 15th one we've done, which I can't believe. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like this video. Leave a comment below. Thank you to all of you who submitted your questions for the evening, and there'll be another review up on Monday. So yeah, 372 Alpha over and out. Thank you for your work. We saw yes, we've got plenty of stuff coming, so don't worry about that. Right, thank you ever so much indeed, everyone, once again.